Hey everybody, it's Robert Ohotto, and welcome to this very special 3-part webcast series event. I'm really excited to be with you. This is Decoding, our very first One World Synchronicity, and we are going to do that over the course of this entire journey together. There's so much I want to say to all of you. It's obviously an unprecedented time to be alive, and I am so grateful. I cannot believe thousands of you are here for this, and that makes me very happy. I put a lot of work into preparing all this for you because I take my role in the world very seriously as a teacher, as a guide. And I want to just tell you, we've got 3 parts to this whole entire opus and this whole entire journey that we're going to be taking together. Tonight's part is about going into an intuitive overview of everything. And as I was getting ready and creating everything for you, it occurred to me that what I need to do first is just give you guys some skills and strategies to handle what is happening. You know, I could flip up into the symbolic realm, the archetypal realm, and intuitively give a read on this, and I will. But I think what I really want to focus on, certainly the first part of tonight, is how can I help you just catch your breath? How can I help you find a way to be with this and not lose your center? Find a way to be with this and stay in intuitive clarity. Find a way to be with this and have one foot in the literal events that are happening and managing those with power, but also another foot in the symbolic territory of where everything really moves from and what everything's created out of. So we're going to do this dance between one foot in this realm of all that we have to manage, all of our fears, all of our health issues, all of our scarcity mentality, all of our triggers, and another foot in the spiritual realm, another foot in your intuition, another foot in seeing with intuitive eyes what is going on. So we're going to continue to go back and forth. And what I want to do before we fully dive in and I get rolling into the content, and as we look at tonight's question, does everything happen for a reason? I mean, we say this all the time, certainly in spirituality and self-help circles, but does it? Does everything actually happen for a reason? And if that's true, what is the reason this is happening? What is that? And it's really, I should say, what are the reasons? Because there's not just one reason. This is a holographic event. This is a tectonic, karmic event. So, to the best of my ability, I'm going to guide you into the reasons. Now, I can never cover them all. Life's too big for that. And it's just little me. But I can certainly lay down some archetypal architecture to what we're going through and empower you in such a way that you can meet everything that's happening, and that will happen, and stay connected to yourself. And if you do that, I promise you this, you're always going to know the right decision to make. You're always going to know the right pivot to take. You'll always know what the shift's about, and you'll land on your feet, I promise. I really do mean that. It makes me emotional to say that, because I promised not to cry before, I was going to give it a good hour, but here we are. Because I know you guys are going through a lot of scary things. And I feel you. We all are. We're all in this together. This is why this is a one world event. Because we really, for the first time in unprecedented history, this is a one world. We are in this together. That is not hyperbole. It is the truth of where we are. Now, before we get going, I want to get some tech stuff out of the way. I am streaming this live to Facebook, I believe. I'm not sure. I gave it a try. If you are on Facebook watching this, the second, there's 3 parts. The parts 2 and 3 will not be streamed there, simply because I'm going to have to go through, when we're done with this, all of your comments and delete the trolling type of comments that tend to come with Facebook. So I'm not doing that for 2 and 3. If you want to come be part of this, there's a link there. I welcome you to come to Crowdcast, which is where we all are right now for the most part, all 3,000 plus of us. And I welcome you to come join us here on Crowdcast. Come on over, because we're going live again on Sunday, and we're going live again the following Saturday. So I believe these are the dates. That's the 29th and April 4th. Yes, I think that's true. So, and those will be, I'm doing those for I have an international audience. So I wanted to make sure I did make most of this available to all of you who are all over the world. We still have people from all over the world here. And I want to make sure I make this as accessible live to everybody as possible. Now, if you cannot come live, listen to me, please, please, please. I've said this 10 times and people still ask this question. You can watch on demand for free. This is all free, 100% free. You can watch on demand via Crowdcast. There's the link you use to register is the same exact link you're going to use to watch on demand. There's no other link. There's no other login. It's that simple. I know, crazy, right? It's literally that simple. Just click on the link. It should keep you logged in the browser and come back and watch it. I want you to follow me from part 1 to part 3. Now, there's a reason I'm saying that, and that's each part deepens and I thread things out. I want you to understand my method here. What I'm guiding you through, to the best of my ability, is an intuitive reading on COVID-19, on you in the reality now of COVID-19. We're reading the world's psychic holographic field. We're reading the archetypal realm of everything that's happening. That's how big this gets. That's why it's 3 parts. And that's why you need to really start with part 1. So I hope I've made myself clear. This is part 1. This is an intuitive overview, and we're going to dive into the material and where we're headed through the question, does everything happen for a reason? Now, when we get to part 2, I'm going to shift gears, and I'm setting up for part 2 and part 1. And what we're going to do then is we're going to take everything we're going through, and I'm going to use a model I've come up with on how I have learned how to track dark night chaos cycles, because that's exactly what this is. And in part 2, I'm going to take this COVID experience and I'm going to then start to lay down more of the read. So what phase are we in? Is this the constellation phase of the chaos cycle? Is this the nobody phase? And through that, I can start to give you some sense of timing around this cycle and how long it's going to be. I'm going to also in part 2 weave in some holocompass astrological archetypal coordinates for you. So that's a big lesson. You think tonight's big, they're all big, but that one is, I was looking at that going, wow, that's buckle in. Now when we get to, so that's chaos cycles part 2, getting through our collective dark night. That's going to be the focus. Part 3 is going to be rebirth. So the terminus, the end game of any dark night is to rebirth you. And this is where I have to say rebirth us. Because what is so dynamic about where we are is that this is a both-and scenario. This just isn't a personal dark night for you. It's a dark night for the world in a way the world has never experienced before. So when I say your dark night, you might as well just hear me say our dark night every time. Or our dark night, I'm saying your dark night. There's no one, absolutely no one, that will come out of this unscathed. You can see that already. So we are in a collective dark night process that's headed toward also a collective rebirth. I want to say something here. There's a lot of talk out there about getting back to quote unquote normal. Let me just tell you, there is no normal to go back to. That's over. Whatever's next won't be what it was. That's not how dark nights work. That's not how transformation works. You don't go back to an old self in transformation. In healing, you rebirth into a new, healthier version of you. So I think it's really important to understand that what I'm here to show you is the journey from, let's say, the dark night death cycle of this to the rebirth cycle of this, the potential for it. Because here's the thing that we need to understand, is that there are things that we could do to make this much, much worse. And I'm not just talking about whether you follow the protocols of social distancing or not. That I'm including that. But I also want to say there's other ways, folks, and I'm going to teach you this. I'm going to teach you to see this as an intuitive. There are other ways that if you don't listen to the guidance that is coming through this experience, you can make this much worse. We all can. And that's why I am doing this for free and have spent 25 hours of my time already putting this together for you, because that's how much I care about it. Is that I don't want the world to repeat. I want the world to evolve. I want you to evolve. If you want to go back to where we were, then we're setting ourselves up for the next virus and the next pandemic. And it'll be the same thing all over again, probably worse. That tends to be how guidance and fate work in collaboration. When you don't listen to the first whisper, you get the 2x4 next. And have we all not experienced this? So something new comes from something new. That's the focus of the third and final part of this. What is that something new? How can I show you what that can be? How can you apprentice that and begin that in your life? Now, let me say some things here to sort of enhance, I think I'm already communicating to you my intention with this series. But I also want to bring that into a succinct languaging for you. I've been hinting here and there. I have an overarching intention here. I want us, yes, to look at COVID-19 as intuitives together. So that's what I'm here for. I also, inside of that, actually want to guide you to your own answers. I'm not here to give you all the answers. That's not what a good guide does. A good guide shows you what your answers are, helps you arrive at them clearly and with unconditional presence and compassion and self-love for yourself. So I'm here to guide you to your own answers in part through some of my own gifts and skill sets. I had already sensed this was coming in 2019. In fact, I did a series online, which I will be sharing some of with you, in which I said to everyone that paid for and came into that classroom, 2020 is going to be like 9/11. There's a 9/11 event coming in April. I said the exact same things December 2019. And that's just for me to indicate to you, I felt this in the field months ago. And so what I'm tapping into through my intuitive skills are the patterns afoot here, the movements within the collective psyche. I've spent 20 years of my life in that territory, intuitively reading people, businesses, my own life, and the fate and destiny and the cycles and patterns that happen around us all the time. Now, what I want to say about this is that I am guiding you to intuitively read yourself and the world here. That's what my main intentions is. Let's do a read together. Let me get you clear on your own self-read and the read of what's afoot here. And I want to help you see the divine order in this chaos, because there is that. I see it already. I saw it in 2019 when I was doing my forecast for 2020 for my students. But to see this clearly, I've got to take you into your shadow, and I've got to take all of us into the collective shadows that we're all connected to. The shadow territory. What's the shadow here? By shadow, I mean the parts of you that you're not listening to but keep screeching at you, that you repress and put away in favor of status quo, in favor of not upsetting other people, in favor of keeping some illusion of control intact. One of the things we're going to do a deep evaluation through in this first part are your currently activated issues with power and powerlessness. Because I've seen this activating power and powerlessness issues and dynamics in people like I've never seen before. That means you. That means me. I've got a succinct guide on how to get back to power out of powerlessness that I'm going to share with you shortly. But we have to understand when it comes to the shadow that we shove stuff away because it makes us feel powerless. So we're going to have to pull that out now. We're going to have to pull that stuff out of the shadow and go, I put you over here because you made me feel powerless. I didn't want to deal with you. I didn't want to look at you. And we all did this collectively. And now we're at the doorstep of fate, a fated divine intervention. Now I'm going to qualify divine intervention. It's not punishment, folks. We're going to talk about karma as well. I don't come at divine interventions or karma from a lens of a universe that doles out penalties and rewards. That's not how this universe works. That is not how the co-creative nature of this life works. There are people basking in tons of reward that have done horrible things in the world. They are not smited down. Their bank accounts are even further padded. So don't give me that. There will be a shrewdness to some of my approach here, clearly, because this is not the time to suffer fools within or without. This is a time to go, no, it's time that we bottom line ourselves and we start getting out of fantasy and shame and punitive ideas of why things happen and get down to we are spiritually mature adults here in this life to act as co-creators. Now, this event didn't happen out of nowhere. There is karmic momentum behind it. And to the best that I can, I'm going to show you that. And I'm going to guide you to figure out your own perception of that. And this is a product of many complex karmic forces. There's not one thing that has generated this pandemic. And I don't even look at it as a generation of a pandemic. It is a karmic coming together of many things at the same time in synchronicity. That has got us where we are. And to the best I can, I'm going to show you as many pieces as possible so that you can start to make different decisions. You, me, we all have contributed and voted in karmically for this. That's what's true. 100%. Now, I want to guide you, that said, through this event as a fellow Dark Night traveler. Let's just come together in a community, if you will, that embraces each other as, hey, we're all Dark Night travelers here together. This is all of our Dark Night. That means we are all called to go and do some shadow work here. All of us. No one is exempt here. We are all called to go to our shadow and go, okay, let's get this stuff into the light. Let's do this. Now, Dark Night cycles unfold through 6 stages, and it's a descent into, to some degree, chaos. It's a descent into the shadow. That's why it's called the Dark Night. You're going to where it's dark, where you haven't seen something about yourself before, where you haven't even acknowledged parts of your tribalism and their toxicity before, where there's so much here. So much here. So when we get to part 2, that's where I'm going to start to organize information through those stages and the read of what's happening through those stages as well. Now, I'm going to say some stuff here just so that I establish some boundaries for this event. I think this is important for all of us. Not only do I want you to feel safe here in this event, but I also, as the teacher, want to feel safe as well. And that's going to require some things from all of us. Now, first thing, I'm not a medical expert. I am not here to speak on behalf of the medical dynamics of COVID-19 or any assessment of it medically. That is not my role for you. That is not what we're doing here. I am going to ask you, therefore, also not to bring your medical ideas to this either. There's a place for that. It's with the CDC. It's with WHO. It's with the general consensus of the medical and, let's say, research community out there. That's where that belongs. It does not belong in here per se. I'm not saying that stuff doesn't matter. It absolutely matters. It's not my expertise. It's not where I come from in this work with you tonight. That's not what I'm doing here. So I'm going to ask you, do not post links to fringe information. Never more have facts mattered. Never more. And I'm not here to debate your facts, no, we're not going there. So do not bring that into this classroom, please. That is a request for my boundary with you. Do not do that. Now, if you get into the mix with me here and you're not jiving with me, you're free to leave the classroom. 100%. No one's making you be here. Everyone is welcome, but not everything is welcome in here. Everyone's welcome, but not everything is welcome. I have boundaries. And I say that more specifically because I am in a completely open public forum here. Through Facebook, Crowdcast, I've made this completely public. And therefore, I will manage it with a little bit more shrewdness when it comes to my boundaries with all of you. And I ask you to respect each other in those boundaries as well. So there will be no bullying here. There will be no shaming here. There will be no making anyone or me wrong. You disagree, you're triggered too much to stay. I bless you on your way. I really do. But that's the boundary I'm setting here, just so we're clear. This is not a place to share seemingly legit fringe internet information, conspiracy theories, conjecture, or speculation on COVID-19. I'm not going to have it. Now, I love you all, but I got to say these things because we're in the Wild West of the internet and I'll just block you. We'll just boot you out. I love you. I want you to stay. So please honor these boundaries. And they're boundaries that, come on, this is just common respect. I'm a fan of common respect. It needs to make a comeback. Now, let's make this a safe space. That's it. After my hammer, let's just make this a safe space to share. Now, let me say something, because we are moving toward shadow work, and let me be very clear here. I actually am absolutely here to trigger you. That's what shadow work requires. Now, I don't mean trigger you and throw you into anxiety and all this kind of stuff. What I mean by trigger you is I want to trigger you into questioning your reality. I want to trigger you into contemplation, soul searching, feeling feelings, healing. I want to trigger you finding the truth for yourself. I want to trigger you finding mystical truth in all of this. So that's what I mean by triggering. I'm here to catalyze something. I'm not here to baby your wounded ego. So if that's something you need, this isn't the classroom for you. Let me just be frank. And I'm okay with that. And I'm okay with you not wanting to be here. It's okay. But that's not the kind of teacher I am. So if you have something generate in you that triggers you, I just get curious about it. Save your energy and don't write me a nasty email or whatever. Just hang out with it. See where it guides you, okay? Can we make that agreement together respectfully? That is my role as a guide, is to get you into your shadow. Get us into our shadow. So that said, I'm going to tell you already, as a registered independent, I do not dance around political tribal sensibilities. I don't care. I really don't care. You got political triggering going on, that's yours to own. And I love everyone. I'm on the side of everyone's potential. Let's just say it that way. That's all I'm ever interested in. So I hope that's all clear, everyone. I want to get that out there. And I love you. And please respect me and respect the time I put into helping you here. And respect yourself. Mwah. All right. Now, after that intense stuff's out of the way, let's take a little breather. Yes, maybe you guys will be trigger happy. I don't know. Maybe we'll give it that word or that set of words a new spin. Let's get trigger happy. Clearly, I do not mean that in context to guns. So let's lighten the, now that I've got that, it's intense. It's an intense time. But I think it's necessary to say those things because we just live in a place where people I'm always astounded, frankly. I really am. The stuff people will say on the internet to each other. It astounds me that people don't know how to be kind anymore. Not all of you, obviously, and you, but I'm just saying it blows me away when that happens. I'm just not that kind of person. So let's talk about what we're going to cover in this lesson. Let's turn the page. Let's come back to what this lesson is. This is about looking at our first one world synchronicity. And the first thing I'm going to do is define terms and territory for you. We're also going to look at what does decoding mean? The whole title, Decoding Our First One World Synchronicity. And within decoding, we're going to look at what it means to go from the literal to the archetypal, back to the literal, in a synchronistic loop in which it all exists. We're going to look at synchronicity, intuition, and the interconnectedness of life. One of my intentions in all of this is to really ground you in intuitive clarity, to teach you how to keep your intuition clear. Never more has that ever been needed than now. So we're going to look at keeping your intuition clear. And this is going to be part one. That's something I'm going to be addressing throughout this whole entire series. Now, the main vein for me in this session, honestly, is I want to guide you to managing your activated issues of power and powerlessness. It hit me intuitively as I was preparing this session that is where we should really all start, because I think we're all feeling pretty powerless right now. And I want to grab your hand in powerlessness and walk you to power. That's the main intention I have for this particular session, while I lay the groundwork for everything else I want to do in the next sessions. Now, that said, we're going to also look at karma redefined as the ultimate truth teller of our times. The one thing I want you to understand about karma, well, there's a few actually. There's quite a few things I want you to understand about karma. It's not a punitive-based system. It doesn't operate that way. And by the time I'm done with you, I'm quite confident you'll agree. That's the one thing I want to teach you. Another thing is karma does not lie. You can politically and tribally spin anything, but karma will always tell the truth. It just does what it does. It is just this computational law in this life that takes choice, action, and produces consequence. Choice, action equals consequence. It doesn't care who you vote for, who you don't vote for, if you even vote. It doesn't care what you choose, what you don't choose. It just will take whatever you do, or sometimes don't do, and produce results. It's just what it does. One of the things that has made me such a clear intuitive is I look at things like a technician. I don't look at things morally, per se. I don't look at things from a point of view of shame. I look at things as, okay, what are the technical coordinates of any given system? Let me get a read on it. And I want to teach you as best as I can in the time we have to do the exact same thing with this COVID-19 experience. You need to think and look at this as if you are a technician. I want us all rounded up as technicians in solidarity here. Now, I will then, from karma, take us into the call to shadow work that has been issued by this event. And I'm going to guide you in. Everything we're doing is going to revolve around shadow work. And then I want to finish this session with, okay, we're in self-quarantine. Now let's get some self-care going on. Archetypal self-care. I don't need to tell you to wash your hands. You know you should be doing that. So you should be socially distancing. So I'm going to guide you into all of those elements. Now, let's begin by defining the terms of the territory. Why did I choose this name? It's intentional. Decoding Our First One World Synchronicity. Why did I pick that as the title for this whole entire webcast event series? This is, without a doubt, our very first one world synchronicity. Now, we have had orbs of one world-ish synchronicities in the past, for sure. World War I, World War II, to name just that. 9/11 became that. The stock market crash of 2008 was part of that. So we've had things that have been, and we're in the midst of one called climate change. So we've been in this and moving toward this one world idea of synchronicity and an event coming that would ping the whole web of life on this planet, all countries, all people. Now, here's what I want to say about the words, one world. We've always been one world. Ever since Earth has been here, it's been one world. The difference of our age is now we consciously know that. Back 300 years ago, they didn't know that. Their world was wherever they had geographically traversed. That was their world. But they didn't know they were on a planet, a round planet, with multiple continents and multiple civilizations and cultures and people, of which everybody breathed the same air. But we know that now. So when I say one world, I want you to understand what I'm after here is you realizing that this is a time when we consciously know we are one world. We know that. And within this idea of being one world, how do we live now, knowing that truth? Clearly, we're trying to figure it out, and it's messy business. That's why you do see a resurgence of populism, nationalism, border walls, because we're kind of freaking out here. But here's the thing I'm going to impress upon all of you again and again throughout this series. This is an archetypal evolutionary mandate, folks. This is not something you, with your political tribalism or national tribalism or whatever tribalism, get to decide is just a little too inconvenient, this one world business. There is a meta pattern in the psychic field of Earth that's bigger than any of us, that's on the move. And it's an evolutionary pulse that says, look, it's time for you all to recognize your one world. You have been contributing karmic factors for decades, if not the last 2 centuries, that are creating a karmic events in the field of life that are going to possibly wipe you out. The only way through is if you start acting like it's one world. That's it. Now, debate me all you want, because karma's going to do karma. And it's already doing karma. So unless we get to a place where we're like, okay, how do we do one world consciously? Let's stop doing it unconsciously, out of our shadow. Let's find a way to do this consciously. Now, am I saying we're going to be one tight global community? Absolutely not. There will still be war. There will still be people with differences of borders and this and that. Let's keep it real. But if we manage it consciously, now we have different options of destiny and potential that we do not have if we do it unconsciously. I would thread out to COVID-19 right here and say, listen, this is one of its synchronistic messages. You want to do one world consciously or not? Because I, as the virus, am going to trigger you in a karmic tipping point here, and we're going to see how this goes. So, what is synchronicity? It's a word I'm going to throw around a lot, especially in this session. Let's define it in a more succinct way. Synchronicity is not about causality. Now, I sometimes slip into causative language and speak like I just did as a virus, as if it's a being, because it gives us a tactile way to image it, to experience it. to understand all of life has intention in it. Creation is intentional. There is something called divine design. So, synchronicity, rather than being a cause of anything. And I got to give props to Carl Jung. This is his baby. He brought this term to life. He birthed and midwifed it into our reality. I consider synchronicity a psychic law. Now, it is the simultaneous occurrence of events which appear significantly related but have no discernible causal connection. That is what synchronicity is. It's a very Jungian approach to that definition. But even though these events have no discernible causal connection, nonetheless, they are connected through meaning. Through meaning. So another name synchronicity has been given is acausal parallelism. Things that are just happening in this way that's in tandem and glued together through meaning. Glued together through meaning. I consider this to be a psychic and mystical law that operates through the inherent interconnectedness of all things. And I also would have to say that synchronicity is only truly discernible through intuition. And I don't mean fantasy intuition and fantasy projection onto synchronicity of meaning. I mean, and you all know this because you've had synchronicities happen that pinged your intuition and you went, whoa, I need to pay attention. That just happened. I was just thinking about that. I've been struggling with this issue, and boom, there's this event, sign, message, whatever you want to call it. That's a synchronicity. Now, this idea, everything happens for a reason. I'm going to reframe that because I think that is a pedestrian way to approach synchronicity. Well, everything happens for a reason. Everyone likes to say that till something shitty hits their life. And then they flip to victim. And then, you know what they say? This shouldn't have happened. That's what they say. Instead, oh, everything happens for a reason, but this shouldn't have happened. Which is it? You're jamming yourself. What's true for you? So, does everything happen for a reason? Do you actually believe that? Do you not only believe that, do you know that to be true for yourself? Do you know that? Or is it just something that sounds good when something falls into place for you? I'm going to tell you, after working in this field professionally for 20 years, yes, I could say everything happens for a reason. However, I'm going to have to qualify that greatly. Because to understand what's behind that statement is enormous. There are so many elements to creation, to co-creation. I could never walk you through them all. I do course after course to try to teach people about that territory. And I'll never be done teaching about that territory. But let me frame it this way for you for now. Everything happens in an interconnected, multidimensional way. Because this is the nature of life, of the earth, and of the entire universe. Everything happens in a multi-dimensional, synchronistic way. You can't get out of that truth because it's glued together by all is one. That's it. Now, the why something happens. Sometimes you can look to, hey, you know what? I could pick up my camera and drop it on the floor. Okay. My camera fell because I dropped it on the floor. Oh, everything happens for a reason. Why did Robert's camera fall? Well, he just picked it up and dropped it on the floor. Boom, done. Okay. Sometimes the why something happens is right in front of you. It's in the room. You can see it with your 5 sensory apparatus. Done. Sometimes the why is not going to be visible to your 5 senses. You're going to have to go to your energy senses, your multi-senses, your intuitive senses to know. That often will require a jump into symbolic eyes. Because in some symbolism, in archetypal territory, you are allowed to perceive holographically. You cannot perceive holographically in a five-sensory territory or perceptual field. You can't. What do I mean by holographically? You begin to see that everything is influenced by a multitude of factors. So let's say you meet someone who's significant in your life, and you meet them, and the first time you meet them, you get that sense of knowing, this is a contract. I have a soul contract with this person. How do you know that? Do they have that on their forehead, taped, and you just go, oh, I read it on their forehead. It was taped on their forehead with your five senses, your eyes? No. There's a deeper knowing in you that emanates from the soul, that's seeing things in simultaneity with your five senses and oftentimes recruiting them to relay information to you. But if you want to go behind the curtain of what generates reality, well, you're going to have to hop into the symbolic realm, because symbols can hold holographic information. Archetypes can do that. So if I just fried your head, hang with me. I will riff this out and make it knowable to you over the whole entire course of this. But I want to make this clear. Synchronicities of the variety we are going to cover together are ones that cannot be seen through five sensory dynamics. So, COVID-19. Why did COVID-19 happen? Well, on the five sensory level, we get a read of this virus originated in China. It appears to have been, transmutated from an animal, bat species type vibe thing, and it caught fire. Okay, true. And as much as we can know the facts right now, true. But is that the only why? No, not at all. I'm going to cover the other why, the other whys. So I have to say something about perceiving synchronicity. First, I got to learn how to talk. I have to say something about perceiving synchronicities accurately. And that's going to take us into this door real quick of this truth. Your intuitive read on anything, let alone synchronicity, is only ever as clear as the shadow work you've done on yourself. What did I just say? Because it's huge. And it's huge to where we are now. How do you know the way you're perceiving, you think it's intuitive, you think it's, I'm seeing the symbolic levels of this, Robert. Okay, let's chat about that. How do you know you're seeing it accurately? How do you know you're not projecting your unintegrated wounds onto this event? Do you know that to be true? For sure. The thing about the shadow, it's what you don't know about yourself. So the more you know about what's in that dark closet in your psyche that we all have, and the more you kind of clear and organize and feng shui that territory, well, the clearer guidance can flow through it without obstruction and distortion. There once was this supposed famous psychic, I say supposed psychic, that used to consider any abusive parent a dark spirit. So when she gave readings to people, what she would say is, well, your mother or father are dark spirits if they were abusive to her client. And that never, ever sat right with me. One, I was abused by both my parents, and neither of them are dark spirits. They were wounded people trying to figure themselves out. Period. But her read could only go into this paradigm of dark and good and light spirits. So it was not more sophisticated than that. Because she, having had been abused, never integrated her own abuse. That's what I mean by, are you seeing clearly? How do you know? Now, I'm going to teach you how to know. But you gotta live. If you are intuitively seeing anything, you have to live in that question. Am I seeing this clearly? Is this my own projection? Is my political tribalism getting up in here and filtering stuff? Is my conspiracy theorist activated right now and helping me see? Or is my inability to be with powerlessness seeing this situation right now? And the archetype or filter I recruit to deal with that, helping me see the situation. You're not seeing clearly. Typically, clairvoyance, clear perception, is very neutral. It doesn't tend to come with a lot of emotional charge. You just see what's true. That is why I want to pull you into the technician. Technicians don't go in and get all emotional when they repair a computer or when no, they just go in, okay, well, this wire is broke. We got to fix it. Solder this, and that. So what I'm after here is we are going to have to do shadow work to see this clearly together. We're going to have to. And our first shadow work, that said, is around power and powerlessness. That's the first thing we're going to go into together. Now, I want to go back and look at this word decoding for a minute. Why did I say decoding our first one world synchronicity? I hope you're clear on why I say it's our first one world synchronicity. Nothing has ever hit the field of life this way. I hope you understand what synchronicity means. That there is a meaningful backdrop to this event. There is a meaningful territory to explore in relationship to this event that is holographically full of so many threads. And COVID-19 hitting the way and continues to hit certainly isn't an accident. It is, in fact, divine design, but not probably from the way you would frame what that means. It is karmic, but probably not from the way that you would frame what that means if you think karma is about punishment. It doesn't work that way. I've read so many, I can tell you 100% with all that I know, it does not work that way. So, decoding. Why did I choose that word? I chose that word because what decoding to me is, it's a technician word. It's got a sense of science and sophistication in it that does not embellish itself with an emotional charge. It just says, let's look at the code. Let's decode. Let's break the code down. Let's break the karma down. Let's break the synchronicity down. Let's break this down. Now, why would we want to do that? Because the karma sucks. Because we're suffering. Because this is not fun. Do you need any other reasons? Because that's the first ones I'm going to go after. Because people are dying. Because we happen to give a shit. So yeah, let's decode it. Because why? We're all one. That's why. Because you are me and I am you. And I care about you and I want you to care. You should care about me. You should care about everybody. Even if you can't help them all, you should care. And we decode because we care. So decoding, to me, is an intuitive process of shifting from literal events to the symbolic and archetypal territory, and then back again. It's going through and breaking down the code of it. How did we get to this result? Now, once again, I'm not here to break that down medically. Not my expertise. I'm here to break that down symbolically, intuitively, the best I can. And to engage you into doing the same. And bring to the table your read. Let's see what we can, as a community, generate as truth. Now, that said, I have to introduce to the playing field of the decoding process here some things that are really, really crucial. You might be asking yourself at this point, well, what's this all about really? What does this all mean? And furthermore, what's the meaning of life? Like, let's move beyond just COVID-19. I mean, why are we even here? Now, that's a question I, once again, generate workshop and online course after online course to answer all the time. And here we are again. I'm generating another one. But it all comes down to this, folks. We're all one. You have to understand what that truth implies. That truth implies that there is an evolutionary instruction, always active, in life. And that instruction is fueled by this mystical principle that we are all one. But this evolutionary instruction, it guides all of creation. And that evolutionary instruction is simply holism. Everything is interconnected and part of one whole. It's another way to say all is one. That, therefore, life and all of creation is subject to the law of holism. What is the law of holism? The law of holism is this. There's not one thing you can do that won't affect the all. Not one. I don't know about you, but that's a bit crazy to take in. That there's not one thing any of us can do that won't affect and ripple out to the all. Now, I don't say that truth or that statement for you to do a perfectionist shadow judge inventory on yourself on all of your self-sabotage and self-sabotaging choices and just generally sabotaging choices that you make in life. That's not my intention in saying that. So don't go into that corner and commit acts of self-violence. No. It's just a technical truth. And the degrees of affect are different. So I can cough right now, and that went out and infected all of life, but okay. And? Yeah, and? Now, I could do something else, like, do some, harm to someone or something. And it's a different story. We can all drive around in our cars and emit CO2 into the atmosphere. Yeah, well, that does go out and affect all of life. It just does. And in ways that now we're understanding aren't so great. So, holism, what we're after here with this law of holism is this understanding that lands us in mystical, quantum, and archetypal truth. Now, a lot of what I'm saying around holism is, in fact, being astutely verified in quantum physics and in science. Here's the thing. You don't need some PhD to tell you holism is a law on this planet, because it is self-evident everywhere. It's self-evident everywhere. So, nature's already talking to you about it all the time. Your body is a microcosm of this. What, you think you can go screw your liver and the rest of your body will be fine? No, there's a law of holism here. Screw your liver and you're done. Screw your kidneys, you're done. Okay, poke your eyes out, go blind, and now your other senses compensate. The law of holism engages, and okay, I can't see with that anymore. I better start seeing with my ears, my intuitive senses. Holism's always on the move. Always. Always, always, always. And therefore, if you're looking for a core reason for COVID-19, I'm going to offer you holism. And what do I mean by that? Let's dive into this at first blush. This question: what is the reason why COVID-19 has happened, is happening? Well, once again, there's so many reasons I can never, first of all, cover them all. Even in my own expertise, I couldn't cover them all. Can't do it. But I'll ask this question for us to enter into the answer through. That is, how does COVID-19 reveal where we are living blind to our interconnectedness in ways that cause us suffering? How does COVID-19 reveal, let me say it another way, how we have been living in ways that violate holism? Let me tell you something. Holism doesn't give a shit about which political party you're part of. It doesn't care whether you believe in climate science or not. It is a karmic force. It doesn't care. It just does what it does. Step out of line with it, then it just recruits you back in somehow. Because you cannot but be part of the whole. When you act as if that's not your truth, you will suffer. It's just a karmic truth. It's technical, folks. There's no God doling out punishment. It's just the law of life. You getting that? COVID-19 didn't happen by some divine being smiting us down for not living in harmony with all is one. All is one, just as a technical consequence, generates events sometimes like this because we're not in alignment. That's it. There's nothing more. So now our options are, do you want to get in alignment? How do you get into alignment with holism? What do you think? Your liver, your kidney, your heart gets mad at you? Your heart gets mad at you because you ate too many Big Macs? No, you have a heart attack because you were not living in harmony with the holism of your body and what it takes to be in a healthy holism. It's just that simple. No need for damning wrathful Yahweh here. It's just what your body does out of the law of holism. I don't think any other approach is useful. I think it's also fantasy. I really do. Now, if I say divine intervention, I don't mean, well, we're going to, the divines up there, we're going to create a virus to bring them to their knees and wake up to holism. No, I don't sense that's true at all. What I do sense is true is, okay, humanity is for so long, put itself in a lopsided, myopic idea of holism that something gives, just like your heart's going to give, just like anything in your body will give if you do not honor the holism of your health. It is no different. So this gave. Now, that said, you can actually ask this question: how does fill in the blank reveal where you are living blind to your interconnectedness with all of life in ways that cause you suffering? You can apply that to any dark night trigger. This is a dark night trigger. Now I'm going to define more in part 2 what dark nights actually are. And that's where the term dark night trigger will make more sense. But for now, I want you to understand that it's a synchronistic dark night trigger. COVID-19 is absolutely a synchronicity. Something happened in the outer realm of biology that mirrors how we live internally through our attitudes, choices, actions, perceptions, behavior, and patterns. It's a match. And we don't typically, as human beings, live in a harmonious way with the law of holism. Now, once again, don't go into your perfectionist with this. I'm just speaking to you technician to technician. Stay there. Here's what I know to be true after thousands of intuitive readings, blah, blah, blah. All dark nights are a spiritual form of chaos, but they are also an evolutionary mandate that is in favor of your mine, our potential being born. You did not come to the planet, near as I can tell, to work off past lives and work off all these old lessons only. You came here to create in ways you never have before. That's another way of me saying you came here to live out a potential your soul has never experienced before. And we all have certain agreements in this terrain. Soul contracts, soul agreements. That said, dark nights, they come to push personal and collective evolution along so that you can move into new unlived potential. Not only at the level of your human personality and psychology, but at the level of your soul. Dark nights are a natural, organic facet of co-creation. You're never going to be rid of them. You're only going to learn their instruction and how to journey with them to become something new. I hope you got that. Do not buy into any self-help crap that has you thinking there's one formula to ward off dark nights for the rest of your life. That does not exist, near as I can tell. There's only meeting a dark night with empowerment, awareness, collaboration, or meeting it in a way where you need fate to act in a way that causes coercion. Will you be coerced through fate, or will you choose to journey to the midnight through destiny? That's it. Now, what are we going to do here with COVID-19? Are we going to journey together as dark night travelers into destiny here? Or are we collapsing into, I want the old life back, I want the old self back, I want the old culture back, I want the old world back, only to repeat, never evolve? Here's the thing about life. You have free will. You get to make choices. It's part of the gig. So, what you have to understand, that said, is what does it mean to repeat? Are you aware of what you're about ready to repeat? Are you aware of that? You ready to dump your Democratic or Republican Party so you don't repeat? Or are you too tribal, for example? What's it going to be? You ready to dump your conspiracy theory rabbit holes that are actually just another defense mechanism you use not to deal with what's in front of you and how you actually feel about it? Or you can actually feel what you really feel for a change, not Pollyanna it away, Netflix it away. What's it going to be? You want to repeat or evolve? Tell me now, I say to you as your spiritual angel. And if nothing else, own it like a spiritual mature adult. Own it. Because it will, you either own it or it owns you. What's it going to be? Just bottom line yourself. Get it over with. So, I am approaching COVID-19 clearly with some Judge Judy flavor. But, and I want you to know that tone in me comes from love, because I've got to step in, someone's got to step in as the spiritual directing authority here and start whipping some things into shape, bottom lining it, cutting to the crap. That said, I'm approaching COVID-19 via holism, the law of holism. I'm approaching it via the law of evolution. I'm approaching it via sacred agreements that have been made. I am approaching it from the way we actually, truly co-create reality. None of this vision board crap. What do you really do to create reality? Co-create reality. You think it's change your thoughts, change your life? Bullshit. Change your patterns, change your life. You ready to change your patterns? Your thoughts come from your patterns. Or do you want to hang out in your mind as if it's the most singular, most powerful thing ever to be birthed on the planet when it's the caboose on your train of power and creation? What's it going to be? What are you going to do? Swirl some more in shame-based punitive ideas of karma, or start to think and look and act like an intuitive and technician? What are we doing? What are you up for? So I'm approaching it through also COVID-19, the word potential. What is your personal allotment of potential in this life? It will not be what my potential is. It won't be what the potential of your neighbor is. We all have different potential. We all have different sacred agreements. We all have different talents, gifts, skills. We all have different destinies. But what's also true is we are in a shared destiny and therefore a shared potential as well. There's been so much framing for decades in spirituality and self-help that to get to your best self requires this and this and this. I have yet to see many people as spiritual teachers get up and say, you want to know what is going to help your potential flourish? Vote. Vote like your potential depended on it. Vote. Throw away your fucking vision board and vote. Because your capacity to live your potential in the world, and it should be becoming very clear in quarantine, is absolutely predicated by the culture that allows that potential to flourish or not into the world. Now, some of you might have a revolutionary rebel contract. We are here to break through boundaries and reshape culture. I bow before you. But we all need to understand in this moment what it means to bottom line our power. And that means to say, look, how far can an African American get in a racist culture? How far can an LGBTQ person get in a homophobic, transphobic culture? I've lived this. And I know that for me to be who I'm in the world required other giants before me to smash through boundaries and break down walls. And it's never, ever lost on me. So, my metrics, and if you're still with me, we're doing this, are I'm approaching COVID-19 through the metrics of the Law of Holism, the Law of Evolution, the Law of Sacred Agreements, and the Law of Potential. I'm not here to coddle egos because I love you too much. And I would not serve you if I did that. So, one of the things I want to share with you that I have studied my whole entire life, really, most notably, that might be a stretch, but most notably consciously, since I was 19. That means I've almost got 30 years of study here. And that is all creation unfolds through cycles of time and archetypal energetic patterns. We really do co-create life, reality. Totally true, folks. Totally true. But we have magically thought ourselves into a corner here about what that really means. So not only must we give a good shadow inventory and intuitive read on our culture, our society, our tribal allegiances therein, and how that shapes our power, our reality, our compassion, or lack thereof. We also need to understand there are other earth patterns here in this matrix of creation that have as much to say about where your life can go as your own free will does. So, I don't get to decide how that sun rises and sets. No, sir. No, ma'am. I do get to decide what I do while that sun does its thing. And even then, there's only some things I get to decide in that. Let's start there. We can't decide. Let's jump into COVID-19. We just don't like it. Go away. No, it's bigger than us. It's part of the beauty and terror of it. We can decide, all right, I see you, COVID-19. I meet you unconditionally on the playground of co-creation here. And I want to know you. I want to know how to be with you in a way that I do not disconnect from myself. My heart opens to all of humanity. And I'm guided to hear the call. What do you think a calling even is? It is, it's a calling. It calls you, but what does it call you to? It calls you to serve the whole. Callings generate out of the switchboard of the Law of Holism. Your destiny isn't about just making a name for yourself so you can be flashy and narcissistic. Your destiny is about how do you serve all of us through who you uniquely are. How do you do that? How are you called to do that? What mountains have you climbed that have built and fortified grace in your system in such a way that that grace could heal me, could illumine me? That's where you're called. That's the territory of a calling. So, that said, archetypal patterns. What do I mean by archetypal patterns? I'm just talking about creative forces, creative cycles. If I said to you, your life unfolds through cycles of time, your potential unfolds through cycles of time, you'd get it. If I said, look, when you were in your 20s, there's certain potential that could not be born. You were not mature enough then. It's 20-year-olds aren't typically mature enough to birth certain types of potential. You got to wait till you're 40. You'd go, okay, that makes sense to me. That potential wasn't even on my radar anyway when I was 20. Similarly, your life, all of life, unfolds through cycles of time. And those cycles have in them a code. It's an energetic code. I'm going to cover a lot of that tomorrow and in the next part. But they all have a code. Now, how they work, though, and I'm framing this because it's going to matter later, is that they come online, they activate, and then other energetics deactivate in the co-creative matrix of life and earth. There is a code that is activated that I'm going to say recruited this experience of COVID-19, that aligned with it in synchronicity. I'm going to be cautious in saying made happen, because it's really not technically how it works. But there's an alignment energetically here. COVID-19 is in an archetypal resonance energetically with numerous cycles that I will be talking about in phase 2. That said, when you look at cycles of archetypal patterns, sometimes we call these eras, we call them ages, we call them decades. The 80s, the 90s, the 70s. I say that immediately and you get an archetypal coordinate. I say 70s and you might get big fros and bell bottoms and all these striped colors, and I say the 80s and next thing you know you're getting into the groove with Madonna and you've got your hair all teased out or you've got flock of seagulls going. I don't know you, but I want to. No, but really, say the 90s. You go and we tend to go these things that access intuition more readily, like music. You get it. Life moves this way, folks. Co-creation works this way. And I think it's important to understand that in context to where we are now. 100%. That's why I'm bringing it up. And that leads me to this question. What meta pattern is unfolding now, and why should you even care? Quickly, because I've talked about this enough, it's the pattern of becoming consciously one world. That is the dominant meta pattern of our time. Now, you either align to that personally, as an individual, live in accordance to it through your choices, actions, attitudes, patterns, beliefs, etc., or you don't. Or you do a little bit of both and, which is probably what we mostly all do. But to the degree that you do not align to the psychic tectonics and weather of the now that are bigger than you, that you have it's a fate. You don't just, I don't like it, I'm kicking it out. I'm walling it off with positivism. Good luck. What you can do is say, okay, what will produce in me holistic, optimal empowerment, health, presence, compassion, self-love, is to align with the dominant meta pattern that we are one world, and we have to start consciously living that way. Track with me as a technician here. I want you to think of the whole entire universe itself as one big power grid. Now, if I'm someone that says, look, I'm going to align to the all is one truth of holism in life and in the universe, for that matter, what did I just get access to? The whole grid of power. The whole frickin' grid. All its angels, all its miracles, access granted. Now, what if I said, oh, but you know what? I'm part of a political party that wants this and that sectioned off. These people have value, these people don't. Oh, okay. You've just stated to life that you are going to only deal with power in this particular circumference. So that's the power that becomes accessible to you. Imagine how many angels you just cut out. Let me give you a personal example as a gay man. What if I was someone who was homophobic and I didn't want gay people around me? I don't care. They're going to hell. My religion doesn't allow it. Too bad. Okay, but guess what? The only specialist to help me with my health issue happens to be gay. What are you going to do? What are you going to do now? Extrapolate from that to everything. This is part of the meta pattern. You want to, tell me it's one world and all is one? How are you living it? Okay, are you voting for people that actually put that into policy? Oh, they don't. Okay, but you still think you live congruent to it. Okay. You can't lie. You cannot lie to your system. You cannot lie to heaven. You can't lie to the grid. So here we are at an event where we need the whole world to be involved to get through this. And where have we been the last 4 years? In trying to get out of one world. Nation to nation. Let's get out of one world. Let's border up. Let's break off from the EU. Let's just break off from everything. And the holism of life sits back and goes, interesting. You can go in that direction, but there's a karmic consequence for doing that. And folks, we're living it now. So as much as I might discomfort your political sensibilities, whatever other sensibility you have, good. Because it's certainly going to be more comfortable than the karma that comes out of you divvying up God, divvying up the universe. Got me? And I'm not saying that from moral judgment. I'm telling you as an intuitive technician. You just lost access to, what you will find is any intuitive mystical truth will replicate itself into actual, literal, discernible things we can see in our real world. I'm not saying anything that's not happening at the ground level. But guess what? It happens at the spiritual level as well. Now, what do you want to do? So, what you need to understand in all of this, if I say, hey, it's one world galactic consciousness that's on the move here, and you can go to me, yeah, whatever, you new ager, you nut. I've heard it all before. But guess what? I want you to do something for me. You don't believe me? Watch this. Go walk around your house and tell me where everything was made. And then come back and tell me how it's not one world. Because I know in the tour of everything in your house, you're going to find stuff made in India, made in Bangladesh, made in China, made in Mexico, made in Morocco, made in Canada. Yeah, okay, not one world, huh? Are you delusional? No, I'm pinging, I'm triggering. Yes, I am. With all the love in my heart. It's one world. Period. End of sentence. So, what we get to other things, especially in part 2, I'm going to show you what I perceive to be the deeper intentionality and dynamics of this particular dark night and chaos cycle. And I'm bringing all this one world stuff up because it frames it all. Oh, look at all you lovely people. Almost 3,500 people here in Crowdcast. Thank you for coming. And thank you for being willing to get in this grit. This is gritty stuff. This is very gritty stuff. Oh, look at all of you. Mwah. I'm just going to take in some comments here for a minute. Thank you guys. I feel your love. I really do. I really do. Thank you. And I have the same love for all of you. I really do. This is really, let's have an emotional moment. This is actually where we're headed next anyway. It's sad. It's sad to see suffering happen like this. It's heartbreaking. And I want you to know I feel that. I want you to know that I feel all of that too. I want to encourage you. My friend Andrew Harvey said something once that I never forgot. He said, if you want to know what your calling is, step outside of your house by looking out your window and asking yourself as you look out, what in this world breaks your heart the most? And whatever the answer to that is, you're going to find the phone ringing and calling you to go heal. I'm sort of adding my own version there, but they never left me when he said that. He said that on an interview on my old radio show. So, by the way, I have a new radio show coming up. Radio show. Yeah, I'm coming back to radio. I was going to do podcasts, but I decided to get ready for some radio/podcast coming up late April. So, yes, your calling is about what breaks your heart, in part. It's also what gives you passion, I think, and what makes your spirit soar. But it is also connected to where your heart breaks. So feel that. Just hanging around with some truths here because there's so much heartbreak to go around right now. And I know some of you are, if not many of you, are freaked out because you don't have income. You don't know what's next. You worry about your health, the health of maybe your parents or other loved ones. We really are in this together. I have the same worries. We all are in this together. So I think that said, what I want to offer you next, we're going to go in part 2 more into some of the stuff that I had been talking about when it comes to chaos cycles, the stages of the dark night, etc. And inside of each stage, I'm going to offer more insights and information, believe it or not, than I already have. But what I want to do now is I want us all to kind of land in together the deep end. And let's have a discussion about power and powerlessness. Let's talk about how you can manage this activation that's likely happening for you. I know it's happening for me to some degree and pretty much everybody when it comes to power and powerlessness. Because the truth is, are we not all pretty much feeling, to some degree, incredibly powerless right now? Can you be with that powerlessness? Can it be okay that I name this thing? Hey, we feel powerless right now. Own it. It's okay. It is okay to feel powerless. I'm not interested in your stories of power. I hope you're not either. I'm not interested in the next lean into a positive affirmation or some token words or the next Pollyanna lens someone wants to throw over your eyes. Can't it just be okay that we take a pause and go, I feel absolutely powerless right now, and I'm scared shitless. I'm going to tell you, not only is that okay, but that if you don't take that step first, your powerlessness will own you. Your system, this is what I read in people, your system will go haywire, and various patterns, i.e. archetypes, will come online to manage your inability to be with powerlessness in an empowered way. Being with powerlessness in an empowered way. Both and. So, I want to pause you. I want to pause your system. And I want to say to you, look, you're not bullshitting me. You're scared shitless. You feel powerless. And that's okay. You don't have to stand in the next positive affirmation in front of me. Because I can tell you right now, you're not lying to your own system, let alone me. So let's start with what's true. We're all feeling powerless on some level. What is powerlessness? Let's define it. You know how I like to roll. Professor Ohotto's in the house. Powerlessness to me is a lack of ability or capacity to control, influence, or have power in some area of your life. That's one way we could look at it. It's being unable to produce or create an effect. It's feeling devoid of strength and resources. It's lacking the power to act, to choose. And powerlessness, if not approached in an empowered way, can lead to self-disconnection. Anytime you're not with what your system's really truly doing, not what you would like it to do or mentalize it to do or affirm it to do, what it's really doing. Whenever you're not with what your system's really doing, you're going to self-disconnect. You will self-disconnect. Now let me riff that out. You will disconnect from intuitive guidance. You will disconnect from your next optimal choice and the guidance to make that optimal choice. You will disconnect from your next inspiration and motivation to act. That's all that comes with self-disconnection. You will go into illusions of control, whether that's other people, life, situations, and you'll lose even more power. Have I sold you on the benefits of being with your powerlessness in an empowered way? I hope so. I'm not done yet, but I hope we're getting there. So I want you to just tune in right now real quick as I ask this question. Take a breath, no right or wrong answer. But what comes up for you real quick, because we're going to revisit this shortly in a deeper way. What comes up as I ask you, hey, where are you powerless right now? Where do you feel powerless? This whole three-part thing might be well served with a journal. I'm certainly going to do some guided work. It's going to generate insights you're going to want to write down. It's like dream work, if you will, but I'm guiding it. It's really tapping your own soul and your intuition. in your intuitive channels. Now that I've looked at powerlessness, let's talk about, to round it out, what is power? What is power? Well, if powerlessness is the lack of ability or capacity to control, influence, or have power or affect an outcome, or feeling devoid of strength and resources, or feeling like you lack the power to even take action, and all this can lead to a state of self-disconnection, what is power? Power is the ability or capacity to control, to influence, or act in a particular way via conscious choice. Via conscious choice. It's also the ability or capacity to influence the behavior of yourself, others, and or the course of events. Power is where you have power to have influence around how things unfold, how you relate to others. You have some power to influence what happens. Power is also a state of being empowered by self-possession and authority. And empowerment, to have power, leads to, drumroll please, self-connection. What does that mean? Hey, I can hear my intuitive guidance clearly. Hey, I know exactly the next optimal decision or choice to make. Hey, I'm not in compulsion, I'm in conscious choice. Now, am I selling you on authentic empowerment here? The catch here is that so often for us to get to power, we only get there by acknowledging where we don't have any. Did you just hear me? In COVID-19, to get to where you have power in this pandemic, this crisis, this event, this divinely ordered dark night intervention, to get to where you have power, you got to first look and do an inventory of where you absolutely have no power at all. You in? Are you in? Now, what comes up as I ask this question? Where are you powerful right now? Where do you have power? It's the first thing that comes up for you. You know where I have power, Robert? It's here. You know where I have power? I have power. I have the power to sit in this shadow journey with you. That's where I have power. I have the power to stay in this seat, even though you're triggering me like a mofo, and not jet out, check out, scapegoat you, Robert, make you wrong. No, I have the power to be with my own shadow and hug it like the beautiful dragon it is. Because I know if I do, it'll open up that treasure chest of power for me over there. It's got my intuition in it. It's got my clear guidance in it. It's got my soul prayers and my angels. And I can't wait to hug this shadow dragon. Let's do it. Yeah, you got power there. How you doing with that power, by the way? Now, what I want to do here is I want us to go in a little. I want us to take a dive in a little bit after I drink some ginger brew and check out your power and powerlessness balances here. Share with me what you guys had power, where you have power, where you don't. Let's do the first read. Where are you powerless? I want to see it in the comments. Where are you powerless? Name it. Now, you don't have to name it to me necessarily. Name it to yourself. Where are you powerful? Where do you have conscious choice in play? Where do you have a sense of divine protection? And you feel it. You know it. The gods have your back. You know it. No Fantasyville stuff here. This is, I feel it in the grit of me. The grit of my soul. Powerlessness in relationships. Truth is power. Love it. Power in faith. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. Self-care. Yes, yes, yes for self-care. Power and having no power in relationships. Love that. Love this. Bring some paradox. Bring it. Bring some divine paradox. My job situation equals powerlessness. Yes, yes, yes. Powerlessness in your job situation. Power in doing inner work. Yes. Yes. Power in prayer. Yeah. 100%. Power in courage. Power in creativity. Powerlessness in breaking old patterns. Okay, great. You're in the right classroom. You guys, I love it. I love it. I love it. Keep it coming. I got to keep talking, but this is why I want you all on Crowdcast, because this is where we're sharing and getting real. Oh my gosh, you guys. I love this classroom. I love you. I want to guide you now on a guided check-in. And then I want to gift you with succinct steps that you can take to manage your activated power and powerlessness dynamics. Now, I've obviously been doing this already. This is me pinging around. I'm kind of playing at the level of your mind a bit still. Well, it's time to put your mind aside. It's time to go. It's time to go in. So I think we can all join in solidarity here, in our powerlessness solidarity, and realize we all have feelings of powerlessness. They're part of life. It's okay. In power and powerlessness dynamics, it's, let me say it again, so crucial first to identify where you have power and where you don't. And I'm going to, let's say, give you homework. There's more homework even than I'm going to send through an email to everybody through Crowdcast. But so if you're registered for the event, you'll get the email, no worries. But your first homework here is this. I really want you to spend some time on power and powerlessness. Make a list. And this is not, once again, an invitation to do a shadow judge and jury on yourself with perfectionism. No. And if you feel you're powerless to that, okay, that's what you put on your list. I am powerless to the fact that I do trials on myself with a shadow judge, a biased jury, and a perfectionist prosecutor. Okay, great. You're powerless there. Love it. We're going to start there. But I do want to make it clear. Any inner work is never from me an invitation to go into yourself with a knife and cut yourself some more. Okay? Shadow work is about compassion, which means all of you gets to be here. All of you. All of the ick of the world also gets to be here. And it gets to be okay. It doesn't mean we like it. It doesn't mean we want to empower it necessarily. But it's already here. And that means, you know what? You know what that means? It's part of God. It's part of the divine. All is one is a truth that you can't just cherry pick for convenience. Per your morality, your ideas of morality, all is one is just what it is. So, COVID-19 is also part of God. Your addictions are part of God. Your self-sabotage is part of God. It's all part of the all. Okay? Now, I really fully believe, and you guys can see if this is already true for you, that when you start to identify where you have power and where you don't, that act alone can start to settle your nervous system and your psyche and provide some sense of relief. And let me tell you, technically, what you're doing when you go, this is where I have power, this is where I don't, this is where I have power, this is where I don't. You're starting to empower conscious choice and self-connection and a clear intuitive channel for yourself. That's the payoff. So the trick, however, sinking deeper, I asked you those questions before. Hey, where do you have power? Where don't you have power? And it could have been spot on accurate. Imagine it probably was. I feel it for most of you. It was like So accurate. Based on what you guys were writing, spot on. Let me ask you a question. How did you get to that answer? Let me cut to the chase here. I'm going to just suggest you didn't get to it through your mind. Rather, you got to that answer of where you have power and where you don't through your emotional system. Because where we do not have power, we start to feel certain feelings about that. Anxiety, fear, trepidation, worry, stress. Where we do have power, similarly, we start to feel in our bodies a certain response. Calm, composure, a sense of presence, self-connection, clear guidance. My point in all this is that, listen, a lot of your answers, working with your own system here intuitively, are going to be generated out of your emotional system. So let me reinforce here. All your feelings get to be here. In fact, it's a necessity, really, for us to empower you, that all your feelings get to be okay. So in tandem with this journey and assessment of power and powerlessness comes a dive into your emotional nature, into your current emotional system. Now, I want to guide you, that said, into an emotional check-in. So we're going to drop your mind away. I want you then, right now, take a few minutes here, shut off any devices, make sure you are in a quiet space as we begin this, really what will be first emotional check-in together. And when you're ready, you're just going to follow my lead here. There's nothing to do but let me take the reins. In as much as you're willing. And I hope you're willing, because I've got the best intentions here and I know what I'm doing. So when you're ready, if you maybe it's the time where you just use your body to process stuff, shake some stuff out. Whatever works best for you right now, do you. But at some point, I want you to arrive at your breath, and I want you to arrive with your eyes closed. So whenever that feels natural for you, after you've had a few moments of settling your system, just close your eyes and let's start some deep diaphragmatic breathing together, which is just simply breathing into your belly as much as you can and exhaling out as empty as you can and repeating. So breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. Breath by breath, what I want you to begin to experience is a deep calming and slowing down of your system. So you start to find that your mind wanders into any worries or fears or just anywhere. There's nothing to judge here. You're not going to make that right or wrong or get into any analysis about any of that. We're just going to simply come back to the breath. So breathe in, sigh it out. Breathe in, breathe out. And with each breath, you're just going to feel your system settling more and more as you're ready. So I'm going to do some guided relaxation here. We're just going to start at your feet and bring a focus down to your feet whilst you keep that rhythmic diaphragmatic breath in motion. I want you to focus on your feet and begin to sense if there's anything in this part of your body that's giving you some kind of sensation, whether that's tightness or tension or feeling like you're not grounded in your feet on the earth, feeling like you're not standing in your power. All of that gets to be okay. Just whatever comes up for you as you bring presence and breath to your feet. And as you bring this presence and breath to your feet, they relax. You begin to feel this warm, light, healing energy pooling around your feet, relaxing your feet and spreading right on up into your calves, shins, right into your knees. Moving right up into your thighs, your hamstrings, relaxing you breath to breath, focus to focus. This warm light, just interpenetrating, rising up out of the earth into your feet, right into your ankles, your calves, shins, knees, hamstrings, thighs, right into your buttocks, and right on up into your sexual genital area. And you're going to pause here and sense your power in this part of your power. This is the part of your power where you are empowered to control what you can in life. So take a moment and just sense where that power to control is. Without judgment, we're just watching, observing, and relaxing and bringing presence to this part of your power. Get the sense if there's anyone trying to control you, trying to draw energy out of this part of your power. Begin to image that warm, relaxing energy and continuing with your breath as you bring your focus up into the lower back, lower abdomen, just above the hips, below the navel. And that relaxing energy goes into the mid-back and into the solar plexus, into the stomach area. And take a breath into your belly. And let's just make a connection to any fear you might be feeling. Without judgment, it gets to be here, it gets to be okay. There's nothing to get right or wrong. Just sense as you keep breathing here your fear factor. Knowing that there's healthy fear and there's also toxic fear. Just get a sense of what are your fears. Let's befriend them. And also check in as you move your focus up into the upper stomach, solar plexus area, mid-back, relaxing with this golden, beautiful light from the earth. Get a sense of your esteem. Have you been making yourself wrong lately? Have you been hard on yourself? Most notably over things that you just cannot control. Just take a moment and give yourself as much self-love and compassion as you can. Feeling any feelings, even your low worth. And let it be okay. And at the same time, as we move up into the heart and into the upper mid-back, take a breath into your heart, feeling your heart. Just be with your heart for a moment. Be with your heartbreak for a moment. I want you to sense, as you're in this part of your power, your being, what is your heart telling you? What has it been trying to tell you? And let yourself sense this through feelings, through whatever channels your heart wants to use. And as you take a breath into your heart, this breath you're going to fill up with what I call soul esteem. That soul esteem is going to drip right on down into your stomach. And as it touches your low worth, should you feel any low worth, you're going to acknowledge that you have value no matter what. You are already enough. This is one of the gifts that comes from the Law of Holism. You're enough because you're part of everything. Period. End of sentence. Take a breath into your heart with that truth activated, moving up into your throat area, your shoulders. Feel that warm light energy going all the way down through your triceps, biceps, elbows, forearms, right through your hands. And just notice for a moment What are you trying to hold on to, grasp onto with your hands? Are you grasping for control? Are you holding on to anything? Give yourself this gift right now and just let go of your hands and let go of where you have no power. Just take a moment and sense how good that can feel. Take a breath with that. And on the next breath, take your focus right into your throat. I want you to notice what you've been saying. Have you been speaking your truth? Have you been owning your choices? Sense where you're at with this part of your power as it centers in this throat area. What do you need to say to yourself? What truths do you need to tell yourself right now? Let it out. And feel your throat and this whole area of your neck right up into the lower base of the head and the jaw hinge of your face. Feel it all relax into the truth. This white light now moves into your entire head area, relaxing your face, your brow, your jaw hinge, your scalp. And now we enter into the zone of the mind. And all I want you to do right here is just observe your thoughts for a few moments. What thoughts are going on? There's nothing to judge. But if the thoughts were the caboose on your train of power, where might these thoughts be coming from? So entertain that question lightly. As you begin to move your focus out of your mental field, you can feel your whole entire body relaxing into safety, into worth, into a sense of divine guidance and protection. And feel yourself expanding awareness now to your auric field and beyond. I just want you to take a moment and feel your entire psychic field and how that is interconnected to the whole field of life. We really are in this together. We really are all one. Now, I'm going to guide some things here. There's nothing to get right or wrong. Stay with your breath. Stay present to whatever arises for you. So I want you to image that we are taking a journey into your emotional system and all the feelings in it get to be okay. There's not any emotion that we're going to judge, repress, or deny. So what comes up emotionally for you as I say the word pandemic, as I say the word COVID-19? What emotion immediately is generated for you right now? And I want you to hang with this emotion. We're going to intuitively thread it out. Now, as you feel into this emotion, and as I ask this question, just watch what arises in awareness for you as I ask, where does this emotion come from in relationship to COVID-19? Can you connect this feeling you have around COVID-19 with feelings of powerlessness in your life right now? Could this emotion, in fact, be the byproduct of feeling powerless? Now, got a few more threads to evaluate. Stay with the feelings. Stay with whatever information's coming up for you as I ask, what pattern or patterns have come online in your life, in your psyche, in your behavior to manage this feeling of powerlessness? Do you find yourself in perfectionism? In victim consciousness? Do you find yourself reverting to being an abandoned child? Do you find yourself in a shadow judge relationship with yourself in this emotion? What's coming online for you to manage not only this feeling of powerlessness, but all of your feelings right now? Is your denier or your addict active? Now, nothing to get right or wrong. There's nothing to judge. This is all information. This is an intuitive read. Furthermore, are these patterns that are active now familiar to you? Have these patterns managed your vulnerability and powerlessness in the past? Was there a time when they helped you manage vulnerability and powerlessness? And was there a time when it went from help to self-sabotage? Right now, are these patterns helping or self-sabotaging you? No judgment, just lots of unconditional love and presence for whatever's coming up right now. And lastly, what comes up for you as I say, it can be okay to feel powerless right now. It can be okay to feel all of your feelings. There's not one feeling that doesn't belong here. Not one. As I say that, what do you feel in your body? What do you feel in your heart? What do you feel in your belly? What do you feel in your throat? As I say, you know what? All your feelings get to be here. It's okay to feel powerless. Now, shifting gears just slightly and coming back to questions I already asked, but we're asking these questions of your emotional intuitive system, not your mind. That means you're going to receive the guidance likely through a feeling. So what feeling and guidance comes up as I ask you, where are you powerless right now? Make a note of that. And what comes up as I ask you, where are you powerful right now? Don't forget to breathe. Keep coming back to your breath for a few more moments here. So, in your own way, I want you to begin the journey back to everyday waking consciousness, back to the five sensory realm of this classroom. So when you're ready, let your breath guide this. Just start to move your body a little bit. I usually like to move around a little, kind of wake myself out of an altered state. And open your eyes. Just take a few moments, maybe stretch out. And obviously spend some time writing down right now anything that's come up for you. And trust that you'll remember. And this might also speak more to you through your dream life tonight and going forward. So definitely pay attention to whatever dreams arise for you. Now, while you guys are settling, I'm going to drink a little ginger ale. and kind of explain and guide what we just did. What I'm after here, because I think it's the first step in all of you getting a foot in grace, truly, grace in this time, is the intention of everything in this part of this session is to move you, in fact, from powerlessness to power, to empower you. Now, if I were to, that said, break this into succinct steps, this is how I would tell you to do it. First, as we just did, you have to identify where you have power and where you don't. Now, you do this, and there's many approaches to this. We just went into an emotional door, which I think is incredibly useful and can bypass some of the BS of your mind and your stories of power and blah, blah. You want to get beneath the surface. You want to get in the back door. And that requires, as we just did, guided work. So you had to abdicate your conscious mind over here while I took you and said, okay, we're going to go to another source of information. It's your emotional intuitive system. It's your psyche. It's your soul. That said, as you identify power and powerlessness, you don't always have to do a big meditation in. But what I do think is necessary is you do have to get your mind out of the way. Now, sometimes that comes through what we just did, but sometimes it can just come in a contemplative way. You could take a nice hot bath and kind of go, okay, I'm just going to be with my emotional system unconditionally and ask it some questions and see what feelings come up for me in terms of where I have power, where I don't. A lot of what you might be experiencing as anxiety, fear, friction, feeling unsettled, uncentered in your life right now is because you're not with this truth of where you have power, where you don't. Knowing where you don't have power paradoxically gives you power, as does knowing where you have power. It just kind of aligns you in a way where you're not wasting energy or focus on where you just don't have power. It's bigger than you. You don't have enough influence. Or maybe right now, you just don't have enough empowerment. Okay. You will never get traction with your own psyche if you don't accept what is first. Furthermore, the more that you tend to judge what your psyche can reveal to you or does reveal to you, the less it talks to you. Your psyche goes, I'm not talking to you. You just judge anything I try to tell you. So, this is where I'm going to say, let everything be okay. I don't care how gritty, how nasty, how beautiful, how shiny, how full of delusion, how full of illusion it is, how full of truth. Let it all be here. And trust you'll know how to separate the wheat from the chaff. You're going to get it. You're getting it. You're getting it. You are getting through this. You are getting through this. We are going to get through this. But it does require a price of admission. And that is truth-telling, emotional truth-telling, and knowing where your power is and isn't. The real paradox here is you focus on things, we all do to some degree, where you have no power. All the while where you do have power, you're not tending to that garden. And as a way not to tend to that garden, you subconsciously go after the shit you can't control, rather than stand in what might be more painful, more frightening, and that is the garden of power you actually can cultivate. I want you to take that in. So let me give you an example. Everyone that's hopping on the rabbit holes of conspiracy theories, it's a power grab. I don't want to be with the truth of this virus. I want to go speculate whether it was made in a lab, how it's really transmitted, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to be with the grit that, this is killing people, that this is here, and it's here to stay. And that I'm going to have to sacrifice things about my life so we all get through this. Sacrifice means to give up something of lesser value for something of higher value. So yeah, I got to sacrifice some comforts because I have a higher value for certain communities and age populations in my city, state, town, country surviving this. It's okay, I'll quarantine. How long you need? Not when is it over? What about me? Which did I just say is in alignment with holism? Which did I just say? Which has power? This is where you get it real. You want to know yourself, really know yourself? You have this incredible opportunity to watch yourself go after the shiny objects of power that have no power. Instead of staying in the garden of power and tending to what can grow there. Now, that said, to get to where you have power, where you don't, it requires contemplation. It requires an archetypal approach. It requires an emotional inventory. It requires entering into presence with what is. Part one. Part two, you do have to start calling out your own sense of seduction into power fantasy. I am seeing this go on like wildfire in my own field of spirituality and self-help now. Everyone's offering power fantasies. So you want to be with what's true or not. Fantasy has no power. Now, another thing that I think is essential in identifying power and powerlessness in your life right now is to look at, and we did this just now, the archetypes that come online when you feel powerless. Do you want to know if you're feeling powerless? I don't know, is your perfectionist online? Is your codependent online? Your addict? Boom, you're feeling powerless. Got it, done. Now you want to follow the thread as to why you feel powerless and meet and greet that, give it a good hug, lots of love, and see what's on the other side? You want to go to that garden of power? Or is it another vision board for you? Is it another magical thinking affirmation for you? What's it going to be? Because I don't care, per se, because you know what? Karma's just going to do karma. Your system's going to do what it does in spite of your bullshit fantasy. So, you want to waste time? What do you want to do? What archetypes come online when you feel powerless? Panic shopper, anyone? Panic shopper? Panic buyer? Panic online shopper buyer? Folks, we can look at this phenomena right now, and it's all about toilet paper. But it's not about toilet paper. It's about power. People aren't buying toilet paper because they're afraid they're going to run out of toilet paper. They're buying toilet paper because it feels like the one thing they can control. That's all. They just found this thing in the herd mentality, grabbed on, and now everyone wants fucking toilet paper. It's not that. It's I can control. Give me toilet paper. I will. Where are you, that person, doing the same thing in your own way? You know? So, I'm going to share this story, and then I'm going to walk you through a few more things, and then we're going to wrap up. I just had my own little journey into my own shadow read yesterday. So here I am, I've been a little bit in chaos. I was supposed to be in Europe right now. I had to cancel that trip. I was supposed to do an event here in Boulder in April. I had to cancel that and deal with all that was required with that and all its stress. And it's just been nothing but a month of stress, as it has been for everybody. So, hey, welcome to the party, Ohotto, right? Yeah. However, that said, have not been real good about my own fitness, which is something that with my own athlete archetype, I tend to lean into to help cope and manage power and powerlessness. I use my physical activity as a way to do that, and I haven't been doing that much lately. So I made a promise to myself that this was going to be the week that I was going to get back on that horse, get back into running, get back into cycling, get back into my home gym because that's all we can do now, whatever. And so I decided yesterday to go for a run. This is my second run this week. So I'm kicking it in. It's coming on. And Ohotto had a nice little journey. And I use myself as an example to bring some humor to the situation, but also to help you see what this might be for you. I decided, me and my athlete, that, hey, I'm going to go on a run. So if you're someone who offends yourself with adult language, this probably isn't the class for you. Probably already got that now. I do let a few things slip here and there in that regard. And it's coming at you right now because I want to give you a real breakdown of what was happening in my head around the lake I live by and the subsequent running trail I do. It's just got to be that way because it's just the grit. So I get in my run, athlete's on. I'm getting out, going for my jog, listening to my music. And then I turn the corner, and the first thing I see is someone walking their dog. And then the first thought I have is, can't you keep your dog a little tighter on the leash? I'm trying to run here. Okay, it gets better. So, okay, Shadow Judge is online. All right, here we go. Keep running, keep running. Then I see two couples holding hands when we're supposed to be social distancing, and my adult child comes online to manage and parent them through, this is my inner dialogue. What are you holding hands for? You guys should be 6 feet apart. What the F are you doing? Okay, got them down, turn the corner, keep running. Now I'm seeing a whole sea of people because everyone's stuck at home and everyone's trying to be outside. This is Boulder, Colorado. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's spring. And now I'm looking at everybody like, what are you all even doing here? Why are you even here? This is my I like people. I like my space and I want my 6 feet. Okay, so now I'm on my titled side of my victim. All right, and then and my narcissist is now coming online. Okay, great. So now I'm running and my shadow bitch is coming online and I'm getting bitchy and I'm watching people and I'm swearing at them in my head and even old women. I don't care. I'm just, it's all on. And everyone's in my way. And this is my run. And I keep going and and then it hit me. I feel powerless. I realized how powerless I've been feeling. And these are all my tactics when I feel powerless. Certainly perfectionism, and that was most of my run, was my perfectionism. And even talking to myself. You should be in better shape. Why haven't you been working out? What's wrong with... Yeah. So, we're all in good company. We all do what we do. If a bomb goes off, as has really metaphorically happened, we're all going to have a different way that we metabolize that, the way that we react, the way we handle ourselves, and we're all going to go to the technology, most likely, that we know the most and the best. And that typically is the technology that we adapted as kids. So I've got an adult child, I got a perfectionist, I've got a shadow judge, I've got, we all have a victim. We all have a certain orb of narcissism. So it's okay if those things come online. And you're going to do yourself a solid by just kind of meeting and greeting it and going, as I actually did do on the run, my mystic kicked in, my self-love kicked in, and I laughed at myself. Not as a put down, but as a, Ohotto. You feeling powerless, boo. And everything lightened. And the stretch I had after the run was amazing. But you thought I'd cut a bitch with every, step in that jog. If you were in my internal world with me on that run. So let being and feeling powerlessness be okay. And powerless be okay. And here's where I want to leave you tonight in this first session. When you've come to clarity, folks, on where you do not have power, I am not suggesting that's the end of it. No. What you do next is, as a spiritually mature adult, you lean into, in fact, a mature spirituality. Which means, hey, I've come to understand that I'm feeling powerless right now in terms of my job situation, in terms of my income, in terms of the possibility of being infected by this virus, in terms of the fact that, and possibility that someone I love may die from this at some point. I am powerless now to quarantine, to social distancing. I'm powerless to events I can't go to, things I've got to cancel, plans I had, things I wanted to launch. Yeah, you are. We all are. I'm powerless to this fucked up government that cannot handle this. And all that's being exposed about their ineptitude right now. Yeah, we all are. We all are. So, hey, want to band together and know that we're all in this together? And not only that, how about this? Let's take all of that and see where can we make some pivots? How about this? Well, I will never vote for that person again. Not after this. Now that I see how inept they are at managing anything but their narcissism, they're done. Or how about this? Wow, that person is stepping up. I am seeing what grace in crisis can look like. Let me just import a little of that juju into me. Or how about this? That person's in full-blown panic shopper mode. Okay. Go ahead, get that toilet paper, girl. Boy. Fine. Wipe it well. Do what you got. Make sure it's soft and Charmin-y. I'm going to hang back. I got enough at home. Okay, so you do want to piece through in your powerlessness and distill. Okay, I don't have power here right now, but I will in November when the elections come around. I will, but, okay, you feel me? But moreover, what you do is, and you extrapolate from these examples to whatever works for you. But what you do moreover is you do this. You go, you know what? I got to take this to a greater power. I got to pray. And I can do both. I will pray this prayer. Help me continue to see where I have participated in the momentum of the karma of the now. Where I am called to shift it in any way I can. First soul prayer. Second soul prayer. And pray for us. You know, I sense and know that there really are angels. There really are guides. There are earth guardians. These are not new age woo-woo to me. These are very real forces. I sense them. I have many stories about them from other people and experiences to, let's say, validate their existence. They're real. But you have to understand a fundamental about divine intervention, something we will cover in the next part. It never opts us out of accountability. Divine interventions do not opt you out of self-accountability. No, they do not. Why? Because you have a soul agreement to grow and learn through self-accountability. You have a soul agreement to climb karmic mountains you've made, we've made. That's what's true. What angels do, if you ask, and sometimes even if you don't, is they help you climb the mountain. But it's still your legs doing the climb. So, pray. But pray in alignment to what's true. I'm not going to encourage you to pray mountains away that are not leaving. That's fantasy prayer. It's wounded ego prayer. There's no accountability. It's accountability-less prayer. But I will guide and say, look, let's pray that we are empowered to see and take responsibility for this karma we've made. We've made. And what I will show you in part 2 is exactly how we have made this mountain together. And how we can shift and change it all. Because we can. We can transform this fate into destiny. If I didn't believe that and know that with my soul, I wouldn't be wasting my time, and my time matters to me. So, where you truly do not have power, you must call on a greater power to manage this part of your life. And I will explore that in relationship to COVID-19 in the next part. So what I want you to sense and feel into between now and next time is power and powerlessness, the archetypes and patterns that are managing all of that for you right now. And I want you to love yourself no matter what, be with yourself no matter what, and just keep breathing. Be in the moment. We're all in uncertainty and the unknown right now in a way that we've never been. So we're going to freak out. We're going to go back to what we know, even if it's self-sabotaging. We're just going to. Can that be okay? Yeah, it can be okay. And then out of that okayness, let's pivot. Let's shift. And if you don't have the empowerment to pivot or shift, soul prayer. Take it to heaven. Take it to the greater grid. Hey, universe, I don't have the power to see anything other than life is victimizing me right now. I ask you, fill me with a new perception and new power. Send me grace. Boom, done. Done. There's more I want to add into this, but we need to shut this down now. So let's maybe finish with just a real small soul prayer together, shall we? And before I finish this, I want to say a couple things to close this particular part down. And once again, remind everyone who's watching this on Facebook Live that the subsequent parts will only be on Crowdcast. If you want to come join me, just sign up through the links that are available in the live description. And please, once again, I'd like to remind everybody of the boundaries I did set down at the very beginning of this part, because those are going to be something I won't mention again, but they are going to be held to throughout the whole entire webcast event series. So please honor those and respect those, and respect me and yourself by doing so. And lastly, I did want to mention to everyone, I'm doing this webcast event series for free because I know that for many of you, finances are becoming a sort of an alarm. And I've also taken another step to help you. And that is everything on my website is now 50 to 70% off. I sat down with my team and I thought, what can we best do to help everybody? And I can't run a business and do these things for free without also making, money. Money, with no money, there's no message, as they say. But I can give you a damn good once in a maybe lifetime, I don't know, generation at least, discount. So you can visit my my website to explore any additional courses that you feel might speak to you. And I'll say more about that at another time, but I just want to let you know that that's out there and will be available till April 15th. That said, let's come together in prayer, in a soul prayer. Now, I call these soul prayers because I do think there's a difference in how we pray. And a lot of times how we pray reveals a lot about our powerlessness and our lack of awareness with powerlessness. So soul prayers have certain things in common. And one of the things that soul prayers have in common is that they never seek to control anybody. They don't seek to overwhelm or overpower anyone. They're not demand prayers. They're not about embellishing and keeping alive illusions of power and wounded ego. They call on power with, paradoxically, through a state of surrender. They call on power. Soul prayers call on power with an acute awareness of power and powerlessness. And I will riff around on this more, probably maybe next part or part 3, so that you really start to feel, I can feel when I'm in a soul prayer and when I'm not. I literally intuitively feel the power dynamic. So I want to guide you into a soul prayer. So just take a minute. Just come back to your breath, and whatever works for you, close your eyes. I prefer to close my eyes. I prefer to access the inner realm of power and truth. through that process, but whatever works for you, just come to your breath and settle in for a few moments, and just for a second, just take a moment and assess yourself. Where are you at? How do you feel? How's your body feel? Dear universe, angels, God, Buddha, Allah, Mary, Goddess, dear all, we step into this moment of uncertainty with all sorts of feelings, from hope and faith to fear and dread. We're feeling it all, to anger. It's all here. So guide us all on how we can be with all of what we feel in a way that is nourishing and empowering. Guide us at this crossroads into more self-love and unconditional presence with ourselves and all beings. We want to take this moment and recognize that we're part of a holism here. There's many different realms of beings on this planet, from the sea kingdom to the savannah to the sky to the mountains to the lakes. We're all alive. We're all here. We're all connected. Help us to live in that truth, to make choices within the truth and law of holism. Guide us into our blind sides with compassion, but also direct clarity and shrewdness. Guide us to see our dark side, our shadow side, with unconditional loving eyes, so that we may see more of what makes us who we are, more of why we do what we do, more of where we're holding back our potential in favor of self-sabotage. Help us to be with our fear in ways that are honest and directional. Help us to understand that fear can be a teacher, an instructor, a guide that we sometimes need to embrace. Help us to discern where we have power and where we don't. And where we have power, help us to own that power, no matter how scary it might be. Help us to use that power to change this world, no matter how scary it might be. We ask that all beings in the energetic, spiritual realms pray for us. Send us your grace and gift us with the grace of self-accountability. Help us, guide us, and we know you will, up this mountain of the COVID-19 virus. Help us transform this fate into destiny. Amen. That, my friends, is a soul prayer. So I will give you some homework. Pray. And just observe yourself in your prayer. I do love to hear all your feedback. I'll look at your questions. I think what I'll probably do is take all the questions that I haven't answered through due course into Sunday or the April 4th session and answer them there. All right. Lots of love, everybody. Have a great night. Take care of yourself. Stay healthy. Follow the protocols that are being outlined by your governments, by the medical professionals. Stay out of conspiracy theory rabbit holes. They're not useful. We got to deal with what's here now. So let's do that together. All right. Woo! And I need a nap. All right. I love you guys so much. I'll see you in the next session. Have a good night.